everyone, and welcome to the Changemakers podcast, where we chat with interesting and engaging individuals here and far about change, making change, living change in their own lives, how they've experienced unimaginable change, and innovative ways people uplift the lives of others. We chat about triumphs over tragedies, mindset matters, and how we live out our life's purpose inspirationally. So please join us to be inspired and empowered to be the change you want to see in this world. You know, we can all be change makers in our lives. Here's to the change you're about to bring forth. Welcome everyone to another episode of Changemakers podcast. My name is Kimberly Rice and I'm Chief Changemaker here at Changemakers. And I could not be more excited than to welcome today Debbie Pickus as our guest. So Debbie, welcome to the podcast this morning.
Thank you. It's so nice to be here. And that's a mouthful, Chief Changemaker. I don't know how often I could say that and not mess it up. So nicely done.
So Debbie, as we have spoken previously, we love to feature and talk with women professionals who have in their lives encountered landmines and hurdles to overcome that would classify them in our book as a change maker, changing the lives of their own lives and the lives of others. So I'm so excited to welcome you this morning. And I wanted to throw out the first question, if you would, to share with our listeners a bit about yourself and a few insights into your professional journey.
Oh, that is so open-ended. My goodness. I love the word landmines. Yeah. The ones we have scooted around and the ones we've stepped right into and blown up. Boy, I've got a few of those. So my company's Team Fireball, and I work to empower women, help them eliminate the mental bully, right? I just did a workshop around slaying the mental bully. What I have found is that many women, that inner critic, that mean girl voice, all those things in their head, that's the thing that holds us back in so many ways. And what I discovered many years ago was that I had a very, very serious mean girl in my head. I actually equate it to being in an abusive relationship with myself. I was going through a very rough financial time. I was already divorced. I was already out of a relationship after my divorce. And I was in an abusive relationship with myself, continually, daily, just negating myself and beating myself up for all the mistakes I'd made and everything I'd done. And mostly mistakes around money. But I eventually realized I had gone to, after this happened, I realized like I would never speak to my daughter that way. I've got a daughter who's my baby. And one day I imagined her face if I spoke to her the way I spoke to myself. Because I was on a regular basis like, you're unworthy, you are a terrible mother, you're fat and ugly, you screw up everything. I mean, this was like the running voice, in my head. And when I stopped doing that and I started searching for, okay, this is better now that I've stopped speaking to myself this way and I've got this awareness. Now let's find out, like, why have I been making all these mistakes around money? Why have I been doing all these things? Why have I screwed up everything I've had? And eventually ended up at an event where a business coach mentioned on the first day that she knew if she lost all her money the next day, it wouldn't matter. She knew she could make it all back. Making money's easy. And it was like a punch in the gut. I said, oh my gosh, I don't believe that about myself. And went on the quest from there to find out what my money story was. And then ended up with the coach. I'm certified in his methodology now. That's more around mindset. And so I guess I'm kind of summing everything up, but when I started my company, I still was on a roller coaster track because I was trying to do all these things, but I didn't have this in alignment. And until I got that in alignment, things didn't start to pop. So we started as fitness team building. I've got a fitness and martial arts background. We morphed into self-defense training and things for companies. But my passion and my love now is really to help entrepreneurs and women in the corporate workspace identify that inner critic, identify that mental bully, and realize like, hey, there's nothing wrong with you. You just don't know any better because you didn't even know this voice was in your head. Or you knew the voice was in your head, but you didn't realize the voice was telling you lies. Let's put it that way, right? Because the stuff we say to ourselves is all lies that we believe. So boy, that went on a rambling craziness road there.
No,
I hope I answered the question.
I mean, for any of us who've lived more than a few minutes, there is it's not a 2-second answer. Right. But I love what you say, because you were on a path to enlightenment, whether you realized it or not, and you had to go to a dark place in order to recognize that the light was in a different direction. That's what I was hearing you say.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that I hear so many women these days, and I was one of those women that would constantly say, what's wrong with me? Why can she make money? Why can she find the man of her dreams? Why can she be successful in business? Why can she have this amazing life and all the things that I see that I want? What is she doing that I'm not doing? What is wrong with me that I can't have this? And what I discovered is there's nothing wrong with any of us. There's just a story that somebody told us or that we made up when we were 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old and younger, that we continue to like enroll our brain in believing, because when you believe something, that you find the evidence to support your belief always, right? So, every time something happens that supports your belief, aha, there it is. I told you. Oh, look, here's another example of this happening. Oh, here's another example. Yeah, for sure this is going to happen because it always does. And then you only look for the examples that are in alignment with your beliefs. So go ahead. No, please.
Go ahead.
Well, what I was going to say is what I discovered for myself and what I help my clients do is find what that belief is, because it's pervasive everywhere, and then change that language, flip the switch on it is basically what I call doing it. Now, it's not an imagine like, oh, I flipped the switch, well, now it's all better. But once you become aware of it, you can start searching for evidence to support like a new powerful decision, as opposed to the old comfy shoe decision, because that's what it is. It's a habit, right? We are like, oh, it's very comfortable to be back here, even though I don't like this and I'm not getting what I want here. It's easy. To make a change takes some work and some effort. And so I help people change that mindset. And every time I help somebody else, I'm helping myself as well, right?
We are always the teacher and the student, right? Life learners. I've done a lot of study, and in our Changemaker program, we do a lot of work around mindset and a lot of different ways. One of the things that I know to be true in science, many psychiatrists have gotten behind this, is something that I found alarming when I first heard it. And that is, by the time that we are 7 years old, 95% of our neuropaths are already written.
Yes.
Now, what that means in layman's speak is basically our subconscious and our unconscious have already kind of put the roadmap out for the rest of our lives. And so, whoever has been the most influential in our first 7 years of life, positive or not so positive, that has kind of laid the groundwork for how we show up and our thoughts around that. And it is only through proactive timed and practice and discipline and a new habit forming that we overcome or undo those what we call lies that limit, the limiting beliefs that were kind of written onto our brains by those who are in authority and are in and around our lives.
Yes. Well, and also part of that is somebody could say something. It's the meaning we gave those experiences, because sometimes a client of mine basically had a father came in when he was working on a school project, and he was probably in, whatever, second grade, first grade, whatever it was. And his father said, like, do you want me to show you? Let me just show you a better way to do that. And he took it to mean he did it wrong. And so I do things wrong was everywhere in life. And really his father was just like, hey, let me help you out here. So sometimes it's absolutely, I mean, it's always some external force that creates the belief, but sometimes we just attach a meaning to something because that's what we heard. And then boom, that's it. That's the lens through which you're viewing everything in life. It's crazy how it works.
It is crazy, which, I've always been fascinated with. I've always been a writer, and now in my career have always been a professional communicator. And I cringe at people's language and the way that they communicate, particularly around themselves, as far as, how their self-talk.
Yes.
Because words matter so incredibly much. And I have over decades, studied and taught and worked with, thousands of women professionals in overwriting those tapes.
Yeah.
And moving them, helping them move from the fixed to the growth mindset, which is like a real thing, right?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
How many people do we hear on a almost daily basis say, well, I've never been good at this.
Yep.
That is, and versus saying, I may not know how to do X right now, but everything is figure outable.
Yes.
And if I can't figure it out, then I can certainly find a resource who can help me figure that out.
Absolutely. I mean, even the expression, that's just the way I am.
Oh, shoot.
What's so funny too, Kimberly, is that when you're in this work, suddenly it's almost like nails on a chalkboard when you hear somebody do this, but people that aren't in the work, they don't even hear it. Right. My partner, sometimes when he'll say certain things and I'm like, oh God, can we just like rephrase the way you said that, and it's just, we're habituated to the language too. We don't realize how important it is. I have to catch myself plenty of times,
And it really is. At the end of the day, this is what I've seen, I've studied, I've practiced myself. My wall in my office, which is behind my camera lens here, is full of positive affirmations.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm staring at these all day long.
Yes.
And they continue to change as I as I grow, right? And so I've compiled all kinds of affirmations for clients, kind of where if they're on the starting line, there are some that are midway through, some who are more advanced, but there really is no shortcut to rewriting those tapes other than bringing awareness to it, taking out the negative and substituting in the positive, and then practice every single day.
Yes.
Whether through a journal or gratitude journal, the positive affirmations, the index cards in front of on a mirror in your bathroom, it has to be visual and repetitive. I mean, that's, anybody who's done any kind of habit changing or sales coaching, whatever, 21 days of repeated behavior helps us to develop a habit. But yes. I want to move on and ask you some questions.
Sure.
How in the context of your team Fireball, which I absolutely love the name of that.
Has nothing to do with whiskey, everybody. Sorry.
So in the context of your work in Team Fireball, how has this journey in helping others impacted you and your life?
Oh gosh. Well, as I said, I started the company. I've got like a fitness and martial arts background. I mentioned that. It started as team building. It started as activity-based team building, right? To get people moving in companies. And we morphed into self-defense training and did some of those. But what I loved about those things were always kind of the positive mindset aspect of it, right? I mean, the physical is always fun because of my background, but really it's what's going on in your head and how that transforms you. A couple of years ago more than a couple of years ago, when I became certified in this methodology that I was learning, I decided like, I need to be coaching women and working with women and working with organizations around this. And really it's women in organizations, because I focus on like the women's business resource groups. But how it's changed me is, well, like we said, when you're teaching, you're also learning, right? You're the student and the teacher at the same time. But what I've discovered is that I love it because I can really help somebody transform their beliefs and their business and their lives and everything else through this work. And it's transformed my business because I've pretty much gone all the way into just coaching and delivering workshops and those kind of things around this work. Sometimes I bring in a physical, like a board breaking event for fun, because it's so cool when people do that. But it's all around the mindset, and it's all around that power and confidence. And, you know how it is when you can transform somebody's belief system so that they suddenly have like recognize their inner value and recognize what they bring to the table. And I've got a client now that every time she talks to me, I said, do you understand that like what you have is a gift? Not everybody can do that. If they could, they would. Right. And so it's helping others grow to a level that they discover something about themselves they didn't even know they had. And it's just, I don't know, it's very purposeful. I've been around about women's empowerment for years and years and years and years, way before I even started a business. So it's just very joyful, and how it elevates me because it just makes me want to continue to grow as well.
Of course.
So, I mean, I'm in a mastermind, with a group of really high level coaches and creators, powerful creators is what I would say. Awesome. It's amazing.
Speaking of when we have work around mindset and interpersonal and professional development, the conversation would not be complete without tapping into the concept of self-confidence, right?
Yes.
Oh, for heaven's sakes. So I'm just curious, what does it mean to you, and how critical is it, do you think, for a fulfilling and prosperous life and career? I know you've had some personal experiences in choosing how you frame your own life experiences, but when you look, when things may have not looked so bright,
yeah,
looking back on them, I'm just curious if you can help us understand how to access that can-do attitude combined with the actions to make positive change.
Yeah. First of all, I think it makes sense to get some outside help always, because we have our own blind spots. I mean, coaches have coaches, entrepreneurs have coaches. We all have somebody that helps us level ourselves up continually. Well, we don't all, many of us do. I think it's wise. A can-do attitude in a lot of ways comes from within. Some people have it and some don't. There's no question about it. But I feel that people that recognize what you have to have somebody in your court. You have to have somebody in your corner. That's all I can think of, because there have been times in my life where I was pretty low and I had to have the love of friends, the love of coaches, the love of, just the love of other people doing things that I wanted, and I saw what they were doing. And, you have to have some support. I think depending on your personality, it could be easy to just go dark and go in and I mean, there have been days where I've wanted to just, fall down in a puddle on the floor. There's days where I wanted to lay on the couch with the remote and, eat chocolate and popcorn all day. And, I mean, I've had those places in my life. But I really definitely think getting some support, some help, the recognition that wherever I'm going to use the finger quotes for failing, right? Because it's not failing, but wherever you're maybe not feeling as powerful and positive and like you're getting it done, there's somebody out there that can help you do it. And there's somebody out there that can help lift you up. And it's just a learning. I am so rambling today.
So the question, I'm going to circle us back, Debbie. The question is about self-confidence.
Okay, thank you.
As females, we know, you and I know, that we are born with as much confidence as males. Around puberty, say, well, maybe getting earlier and earlier, but say around 11 to 13, because of the hormonal shifts of puberty, we lose it. We turn ourselves inside out, upside down to appeal to the opposite gender, yes. Generally, in a general sense. And then, we have to spend the rest of our adult years trying to reclaim that.
Yeah, that's where that goes.
Reclaim what we had. Yeah. And some of us do I hate to use the word better, but some of us do a more self-healing job of that than others. Some of us are just naturally more resourceful and looking outward, as you just mentioned, the true value of a coach and a confidant or a guide, a counselor, therapy, some person in your corner.
Yeah.
So, I would love to hear your perspective on, in having bold, building a bold career, life, business, and the role of self-confidence and the job that we may or may not do in reclaiming that in our adult years.
First of all, I think it's important to find things that you love. So whether that's a workout, whether that's a hobby, whether that's something you're good at, incorporate those things in your life because you'll find some success, right? Find some successes where you can find them. And again, mentors, coaches, people that can identify the talents within you, the things about you that are amazing, because we all have them, and build those, right? Because you're building confidence from that place, because it's not true that, I suck at everything. Like I've never had a success in my entire life. Those things are not true. Somewhere in there's some talent, there's some superpower, there's something about you that's amazing. And I think you start by watering that seed and building that seed, and then flourishing. And then once that self-confidence builds, then it builds, right? I don't know if that is answering the question, but I truly believe that you have to find the things you're good at, find the things that you love, do them, right? And continue to build on that. Just like we talked about creating a new decision and then finding the evidence and building until eventually you change the mind. The things that build the confidence continue to build. And self-love, right? Just self-care and self-love are so important. We're so good at beating ourselves up. Oh, my body's not perfect. This isn't perfect. I didn't do this. I didn't do that. Again, it's recognizing that the things that you are great at, the things, and share with others. I mean, a community is important. For me, there's things I'm great at. There's things I'm not that great at. Well, if I collaborate with somebody who's really great at one thing and I'm great at another thing, we build each other up.
Right.
So that's part of it.
I absolutely agree. I couldn't agree more. And I would just add for our listeners, and to add the perspective, these changes, this change making process is lifelong. This is not something that I'm going to take a 2-week course and I'm going to reclaim my confidence, or I'm going to, accomplish whatever. This is a lifelong journey.
Yes.
Because once we accomplish, or once we up level to a level, and this is something a coach told me years ago, new level. I said that on my workshop that I taught yesterday, new level, new devil, but it's true, because as we grow, we expand, then we want more. An interesting martial arts concept is when you start in martial arts, you've got a beginner's mind and you're learning and growing. And when you hit black belt, you're back to being a beginner, because there are 10 levels of black belt. And so now that you're at that level, now it's okay.
you might know the basics. You might have mastered some of the basics, but now you've got to build on that foundation and continue to grow and evolve. It's just like working out. You go to the gym, you can't go for a week and then be like, okay, I'm done. I mean, it's ongoing. All the things in life that help us grow are continual. No different than all the things that bring us down. If you continue on that path, you're going to get lower, 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 right? So it works both directions. It's just kind of two sides of the mirror.
So fascinating. I love it. I love talking with change maker women that, you know, are in alignment, that like me and like so many of our listeners have discovered some of these truths. And, you know, oftentimes, particularly I think for women who are in some of the professional services, law, finance, science, etc., you know, it's very analytic and critical thinking based. Yes. And oftentimes, I mean, we can read books, we can listen to podcasts, even like ours, but, you know, to put those principles in practice, you know, to be real about the fact that you've got to invest yourself into the practice and purposefully and intentionally, you know, move in a forward direction on a regular basis in order to see the fruition of what you say you desire to have, whatever that might be.
Right. And it's amazing how even in those very analytical fields, right? Like you've done work in the law, and I've done a little bit of work in that area, but I think in corporations and in some of those fields, they're starting to understand the importance of this. The people that do, whether they do it as part of their company or whether on their own, they raise at such a faster level, I believe. And they absolutely encompass like so much more of their work by focusing on this as well. And so, yeah, I mean, tactics and strategies work much better when you've got this dialed in.
Absolutely. So here's a fun question that I love asking all of our guests. And that is, if you could give yourself, your younger self, one piece of professional advice, what would that be?
Professional advice. Start personal development early. I mean, I didn't have a business yet, but I was introduced to basically the Landmark Forum by a company that I was working for, you know, in maybe like, I don't know, what year is it? Like 20 years ago, right? I wish I had started in my 20s. I wish I had known about it in my 20s. And, you know, not even from professional necessarily, but absolutely like investing in personal development, investing in coaches, investing in things that would help me grow faster and know more. I didn't know then, right? So it's easy to say that, but had somebody told me at the age of 19 or 20 or even younger to start doing this kind of work and understanding it, I can only imagine how much further along I'd be. I've got 3 children. One is very involved in personal development, and he's in his 20s, and he's even like, well, I wish I would have started younger. I said, okay, it's all right, because you're starting now, understanding exactly what's going on. He's my entrepreneur. Awesome. And my other 2 are more like work, you know, they've got great careers, but they're more career people than entrepreneurial. Sure. And it's just, for me as a young girl, I think I also would have told myself, like, really trust and believe in yourself. Like, you can do this. You can earn your own money. I had a father that raised girls, and he's like, find a man to marry you and take care of you. I don't think he believed that I was capable of making money. And therefore I didn't believe I was capable of making money. So I might've told my younger self, like, you can do this on your own and find a purpose and a vision and a life that, you know, it's great to have a partner, but you don't need the partner for that. You need yourself.
Right. No, excellent.
Girl power.
You know, contrary to you, I had an extraordinarily super duper strong role model, my mom, who was independent. She was really the primary income earner in our family, extraordinarily independent, totally resourceful. And she raised 2 very independent, resourceful daughters.
Love it.
I have a sister, and you know, it's just interesting to see the paths, right? I mean, that started so early on. But so is there, if I wanted to give you an opportunity to share anything additional that you'd like to offer to our listeners about Team Fireball and, you know, kind of some of the perks and, you know, the work that you're doing is just so transformational. It's hard to articulate the depth of the value.
Yeah. Well, I would like to invite your listeners to, if they want to have a conversation with me, what I can do is share my booking link in the comments with you. I love to have conversations with people if they're feeling stuck, if they're feeling lack of confidence, if they're feeling like, oh, wow, this resonated with me. I'm always the one that says like, you know, what's wrong with me? Why can't I get there? Like you're just kind of stuck at a level. I would absolutely love to have a conversation with you, and it's no pressure. It's really just to see if you know, there's a way I can provide value for you in your life and your business. And also one of the newer things I'm doing with law firms and also with corporations is I've got a workshop series that I can do, and it's very customizable, right? So if you have an hour, I can create an hour workshop. If you have a week, you know, if you've got full days, I can create it however it is. But the goal with that is to help your teams utilize all their gifts. And what's happening right now is that the talents and gifts are underutilized because they're struggling with that lack of confidence and insecurity and the things that don't propel them to go out and look for new clients, make new presentations, jump into opportunities for leadership. I mean, there's so many things that I feel like these women are holding themselves back because they're afraid of what somebody might think. They're afraid they'll be rejected. They're afraid they won't be liked. They're afraid that they're not good enough. And we can change that. And then that up levels your entire team. So individuals, companies, I'm all yours.
Wonderful. So that I definitely want to give our listeners a direct opening to you. So what is the best way for our listeners to reach out to you and to connect?
I'm going to say LinkedIn for this right now. It's a great way to leave me a message, and it's Debbie Pickus, Debbie Pickus. Find me on LinkedIn, and you could just message me there and say that you heard me on Kimberly's podcast, the Changemakers podcast, and we'll have a conversation. We'll see where we can go next.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, Debbie, thank you so much. This has been such fun and so fascinating. It's just, you know, it is whispers to my heart, these types of conversations. And so thank you again, Changemakers, for joining us in today. This concludes our episode for our Changemaker podcast. Hope that you found value with it. And until next time, be the change that you want to see today. Thank you.